Good morning / afternoon, Miss George. Today I'll be talking about my chosen leader, Scott Morrison. Question 1. A description of the leader including their background and leadership style. Here you should also assess the roles the leader has adopted in their leadership to support the leadership styles. Scott John Morrison was born 13 of May 1968, making him 52 years old. Scott Morrison was born and raised in Australia. Scott Morrison is an Australian politician serving as the 30th and current Prime Minister of Australia, having become the leader of the governing Liberal Party in August 2018. At first, Australia saw Scott Morrison as a laissez-faire leader during the bushfires, because when the bushfires were out of control and killing people, animals and damaging the environment, Scott Morrison was in Hawaii on holiday and the Australian community was frustrated with Scott Morrison, and Australians thought he didn't care about his people, which made him look like a laissez-faire leader. Scott Morrison is now seen as a leader who cares for his people. Through this pandemic, he has closed many public places and forced everyone to participate in social distancing and to keep washing their hands. And by doing this, thousands of Australians' lives have been saved. However, Scott Morrison has announced that everything will be opening again, this also making Australians happy, given that there was a lot of unemployment leading to Australia into a recession. By opening up things again, this will allow Australians to work and be more free during this pandemic of COVID-19. Question 2. An examination of the resources the leader may have used, such as human or non-humans resources, to assist them with their roles within their community. Here you should assess the resources used by the leader to successfully complete tasks faced with their given roles. Scott Morrison uses humans to assist him while being the current Prime Minister. For example, during the bushfires, Scott Morrison was at Hawaii and he'll notify the Liberal Party of what to say and what to do. This went on for about a week or two, but however, the whole bushfire went on for 210 days and burnt 858 hectares of land. There was many who lost their houses and their lives, and Australians' famous animals such as the kangaroo and koala. Many people were participating to help stop the bushfires, but thankfully the fire came to an end. Question 3. An explanation of the factors that may have influenced their leadership style. You must support the specific and relevant examples for the leader's life and link to any of the 4 syllabus dot points. My chosen syllabus dot point is relationship between group members. For example, the relationship between group members, Scott Morrison has 2 daughters, Lily and Abby Morrison. His wife's name is Jenny Morrison, age 52. On the 2nd of April, Scott Morrison was asked what keeps him awake during this COVID-19 crisis. In an emotional moment, Prime Minister Scott Morrison said he was drawing inspiration from his grandmother who lived during the Great Depression and admitted it was hard trying to imagine the world on the other side of COVID-19 pandemic. Scott Morrison also mentions that having his family with him was great comfort. Question 4. Analysis of the types of support assessed and utilized by the leader. Here you must provide a formal or informal support service used by the leader to assist them in fulfilling their role as a leader. Prime Minister Scott Morrison uses his family as an informal support service to help him get through his days and uses his grandmother as inspiration during this time and day of COVID-19. Prime Minister Scott Morrison also wants the best for his family. He wants his kids a great education and good friends. However, a formal support service will be his team in the Parliament House, helping him to make all these tough decisions and how to announce to Australians such as lockdown to stop the spread of COVID-19. Question 5. An assessment of the leader's adaptability and flexibility. linked to the importance of the leadership adaptability for contributing to positive relationships amongst the group and task achievement. Scott Morrison is known to be a flexible and adaptable Prime Minister. This is shown when Scott Morrison makes announcements that is right for the community and also for the people, given that Scott Morrison had to change things and adapt to things during this pandemic, such as lowering the number of people you can see in public places or also even in your household, social distancing and staying hygienic. Question 6. An evaluation of the effectiveness of your chosen person's leadership. Comment on their achievements, success, strengths, and fallings, weaknesses. Use specific examples to support the response. As Minister for Immigration and Border Protection, Scott Morrison successfully stopped the boats. This stopped the deaths at sea that had been occurring over the previous 6 years under Labour. Stopping the boats meant that the government could close 19 detention centres and remove all children from detention. As Social Service Minister, Scott reduced abuse of welfare system and put Australians' social safety net on a more sustainable footing. Throughout his career in government and in the private sector, Scott Morrison has established a reputation as someone who listens to the people and solves difficult problems. Scott Morrison and Josh Frydenberg want you to know that if the economic tips into recession and the budget surplus they not merely promised but claimed had already been delivered fails to materialize, it's the fault of coronavirus. It's not their fault, despite the fact that they refuse to show economic leadership of any kind. Prime Minister Scott Morrison fails to show leadership styles because when the bushfires were happening, at the time he was at Hawaii and had no idea what was going on. This making him seem once again as a bad leader and fails his job as a Prime Minister to keep the community safe.
Listening to my presentation, I hope you enjoyed. Have a good day. Stay safe.